A poor single dad texted a billionaire by mistake, asking for baby formula money. What happened next destroyed one man's empire and rebuilt another man's life. A darkened television studio. Two men sit across from each other under lights so harsh they turn skin translucent. The air conditioning hums too loud. Someone coughs in the audience, but nobody moves. On the left, Harrison Vance, billionaire. $9 billion. Custom suit that costs more than most people make in a year. He sits like a man who's never been told no. Hands that know mop water and cardboard boxes. He sits like a man who's been told no his entire life. The moderator leans forward. Mr. Vance, do you stand by your decision to screenshot a desperate father's private text message and turn it into a marketing campaign? Harrison doesn't blink. I turned his desperation into opportunity. He refused it. That's on him. The camera shifts to the other man. He's so still he could be carved from stone. When he speaks, his voice is quiet. Controlled. You used my daughter's formula money to build a surveillance machine, he says. You want to call that charity? The studio goes dead silent. Harrison's jaw tightens. His media training is failing him. He leans forward, pointing. You texted me begging for $10. And you screenshotted it? Posted it to 4 million people. Put my face on billboards across Detroit. The grocery worker's voice hasn't risen, hasn't shaken. Then you built an app designed to exploit a million other fathers just like me. Harrison opens his mouth. That's Marcus Webb. The name lands like a bomb. Harrison's face drains white, because he knows that name. Every tech CEO in America knows that name. The camera pushes tight on the grocery worker's face. His eyes are calm, unshakable. And in that moment you realize, this man is not what he appears to be. If you believe that cruelty disguised as charity deserves to be exposed, stay with this story. Because what happens next will prove that the most dangerous person in any room is the one everyone. Before we begin, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, have you ever been humiliated by someone in power? Because this story is for you. But to understand how a single mistaken text message brought a billionaire to his knees, we need to go back 2 weeks, to the night. A tired father stocking shelves at a grocery store made a choice that would change everything. The fluorescent lights in the grocery store hummed like a warning Marcus couldn't hear. He moved down aisle 7 with a flatbed cart stacked with cereal boxes, his hands working on autopilot. Stack. Stack. Align. Face forward. The rhythm kept him awake. It was 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. The store was empty except for him and the night manager smoking behind the loading dock. Marcus had been here since 10. 4 more hours until his shift ended. He straightened a row of cornflakes and felt the ache spread from his lower back up through his shoulders. 36 years old, and his body already kept a log of every double shift, every skipped meal, every night he'd slept 3 hours so he could be awake when Zoe needed him. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, saw the calendar reminder he'd set 3 days ago. Formula, $8 short. Marcus stopped moving. He stared at the notification until the screen went dark. $8. That was it. That was the gap between making it to Friday and watching his daughter go hungry. The car repair last week had taken everything he'd saved. $240 to replace a fuel pump he couldn't ignore because the engine wouldn't start, and he couldn't miss work and lose this job too. He'd done the math 4 times in his notebook at home. He'd cut everything he could cut. No coffee, no lunch. He'd been eating the day-old sandwiches the deli manager left in the break room. But Zoe's formula wasn't negotiable. She had a dairy sensitivity. The regular kind made her sick. The specialized formula cost $42 a container, and she was down to the last 3 scoops. Payday was Friday, the 3 days away. 3 days away. Marcus leaned against the shelf and closed his eyes. The fluorescent hum pressed against his skull. He could hear his own breathing in the silence, slow and controlled, the way he'd trained himself to breathe when the walls started closing in. He thought about his cousin Derek. They'd grown up together on the east side, stayed close even after Marcus moved across town. Derek was good for it. $10 until Friday. He'd understand. Marcus pulled out his phone again and typed the message quickly before he could talk himself out of it. "Derek, can you spot me $10 till Friday? Formula cost went up. I'm good for it." He read it twice. Hated every word. But Zoe's face appeared in his mind, the way she looked at him every morning like he was the only thing in the world that made sense. And he hit send. The message whooshed away into the digital dark. Marcus exhaled, slid the phone back into his pocket, went back to stacking cereal boxes. 300 miles away, Harrison Vance sat in a conference room on the 40th floor of a hotel in downtown Detroit. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The room smelled like expensive cologne and cold brew coffee. Harrison's publicist, a sharp woman named Diane, scrolled through her tablet with the focus of a surgeon. She was building the schedule for tomorrow's empathy tour stop, a factory visit, a photo op at a community center, a town hall where Harrison would listen to real people talk about real problems. The empathy tour had been her idea. 6 weeks of travel across struggling American cities. Harrison Vance, tech billionaire, founder of Vance Analytics, listening to the people his company's data practices had allegedly harmed, rebuilding trust. The privacy scandal 3 months ago had been brutal. Congress had asked uncomfortable questions. The press had stopped calling him an innovator and started calling him an opportunist. His board wanted him visible, humble, human. So here he was. Detroit, listening tour. Redemption arc. Harrison's phone lit up on the table. A text notification from a number he didn't recognize. He glanced at it, frowned, picked up the phone. "Derek? Can you spot me $10 till Friday? Formula cost went up." Her eyes narrowed. Then she smiled. "This is perfect," she said. "What?" "This is perfect. Real desperation, real need. Someone just asked a billionaire for $10 by accident." She was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Harrison could see it in her face. Document everything. Turn it into content. Billionaire receives cry for help, transforms a life in real time. Harrison looked at the text again. The message was raw, unpolished. Formula cost went up. A parent asking for help to feed their kid. Then we filmed the whole thing. "This is the story, Harrison. This is what people want to see. You helping someone who accidentally reached out to you. It's fate. It's human." Harrison felt something stir in his chest. Not empathy. Opportunity. I took a screenshot of the text. Opened his social media app. 4 million followers waiting for proof that he cared. He typed a caption. "Just received this. Watch what happens when you ask me for help. Empathy in action." He attached the screenshot, the phone number visible. Harrison's thumb hovered over the button. He thought about the man on the other end of that text. Thought about him for maybe 2 seconds. Wondered if he'd mind being turned into content. Then decided it didn't matter. The man had asked for help. Harrison was offering the biggest help of his life. He hit post. The notification went live to 4 million people. Marcus woke to the sound of his phone vibrating itself off the nightstand. It hit the floor with a crack. The screen kept lighting up. Buzz, 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 continuous. Relentless, like something. The apartment was still dark. Through the thin curtains, he could see the gray light of early morning, maybe 6:30. He'd only been asleep 3 hours. The phone wouldn't stop. Marcus leaned down, picked it up, looked at the screen. 217 notifications. Text messages from numbers he didn't recognize. Missed calls. Voicemails. Social media apps he didn't even have installed were somehow generating alerts. His hands went cold. He opened the messages. The first one was from a number in California. "You're pathetic. Get a job." The "Praying for you." The third was from someone local. "Why don't you just work harder instead of begging?" Marcus scrolled faster. The messages kept coming. Dozens. Hundreds. Strangers who knew his name, his situation, his daughter's formula, needs. Strangers who had opinions about his life. One message included a screenshot. It was his text, the one he'd sent last night to Derek. But it wasn't just the text. It was posted on a social media account with millions of followers. Harrison Vance's account. Marcus stared at the screen until his vision blurred. His phone number was visible, right there, in the screenshot, posted to 4 million people. The phone buzzed again in his hand. Another text, then another. They were coming in faster than he could read them. From down the hall he heard Zoe's voice, small and scared. "Daddy?" Marcus stood. His legs felt unsteady. He walked to her room, phone still buzzing in his hand. Zoe was sitting up in bed, clutching her stuffed elephant, eyes wide. "Why's your phone doing that?" she whispered. "Just a lot of messages. Go back to sleep." "I can't. It's too loud." Marcus silenced the phone. The notifications kept appearing on the screen, silent now but still relentless. He slid it into his pocket and sat on the edge of Zoe's bed. "Want me to make pancakes?" he asked. Zoe nodded. She reached for his hand and held it tight. They went to the kitchen together. Marcus moved through the motions. Mixing bowl, flour, eggs, milk. His hands measured and poured while his mind tried to make sense of what was happening. His desperation, his daughter's needs, all of it on display like he was a charity case, a content opportunity. The phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. Zoe ate her pancakes slowly, watching him. She was 4, but she noticed everything. The way his jaw was tight, the way he kept staring at nothing. "You okay, Daddy?" "I'm okay, Daddy." "I'm okay." The phone rang. Not a text this time. An actual call. Marcus pulled it out, looked at the screen. The grocery store. His boss. He stepped into the hallway, answered. "Marcus, it's Tom. We got a situation here. Reporters asking for you. Something about a billionaire. I don't know what's going on, but you can't come in today. Not until this blows over." "Tom, I need this shift, I know. But I got corporate breathing down my neck. They don't want the attention. Take a few days, I'll call you." The line went dead. Marcus stood in the hallway. News vans, reporters. Marcus stood in the hallway, news vans, reporters, high tea. His private life turning into a spectacle. The phone buzzed again. A new message, this one from a number with a Detroit area code. "Vance would like to meet with you tomorrow to discuss how he can help your situation. This is an incredible opportunity. Please call me at your earliest convenience." Marcus read it twice. An incredible opportunity. The words tasted wrong. But what choice did he have? His phone number was public. His face would be next. Reporters were already looking for him. And Zoe was going to see this. Kids at preschool, their parents. Everyone would know. He needed to control this. Somehow. Marcus called the number. Vance's director of public relations. "What does he want?" Marcus asked. "He wants to help you. He was moved by your message, and he'd like to meet face to face. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. We'll send a car." "I don't need a car." "Mr. Webb, This is a chance to change your life. Mr. Vance is offering you something real. Don't let pride get in the way. Don't let pride get in the way. Marcus closed his eyes. Pride. That's what they thought this was. Where? He said. Diane gave him an address, a coffee shop downtown. She told him to dress casually. He stood in the hallway for a long time, listening to Zoe humming in the kitchen, listening to his phone buzz with messages from strangers who thought they knew him. That afternoon, he walked to his landlord's house 3 doors down. Mrs. Chen had watched Zoe before. She was a retired teacher, kind, asked few questions. Can you watch her tomorrow morning? Marcus asked. Just a few hours. Mrs. Chen looked at him with the same expression Zoe had used earlier, noticing something was wrong. Of course, she said. Everything okay? It will be. That night, after Zoe was asleep, Marcus went through his closet. He didn't own much. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, work clothes, nothing appropriate for meeting a billionaire. He found a button-down shirt he'd worn to a job interview 2 years ago, wrinkled but clean. He ironed it carefully, his hands moving with precision, trying not to think about what tomorrow would bring. His phone sat on the counter, face down, still buzzing occasionally. Marcus hung the shirt on the back of a chair, checked on Zoe one more time. She was curled around her elephant. He had no idea what Harrison Vance wanted from him. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever happened tomorrow would determine whether his daughter's life stayed private or became part of someone else's story. The coffee shop was on a corner in downtown Detroit, the kind of place with exposed brick and reclaimed wood tables. Marcus arrived 10 minutes early and stood outside, trying to steady his breathing. Through the window he could see lights. Professional lighting, the kind used for film sets. His stomach tightened. A woman in a headset came outside. She smiled. I'm Diane. Come on in. We're so excited to have you here. Marcus followed her through the door. The entire interior had been transformed. 3 cameras on tripods, ring lights positioned at angles Marcus didn't understand, cables taped to the floor, a sound technician adjusting a boom mic, 20 people sitting at tables that had been arranged in a semicircle, all facing a center table under the brightest lights. We've got you right here, Diane said, gesturing to a chair. Marcus looked at the setup. The cameras, the audience, the performance of... It is, but Mr. Vance believes in transparency. Everything documented, everything authentic. Diane's smile never wavered. Just be yourself. That's all we need. Marcus sat. The chair felt too small. The lights were hot on his face. A makeup artist approached with powder. Marcus shook his head. I'm fine. The woman hesitated, looked at Diane, then stepped back. Marcus waited. His borrowed shirt was already damp with sweat. Around him, the curated audience whispered to each other, phones out, filming. Harrison Vance entered like a man who'd never doubted his welcome anywhere. Tall, expensive suit, smile practiced to look humble. A small entourage followed him. He walked straight to Marcus, hand extended. Marcus, thank you for coming. This means the world. Marcus stood, shook his hand. The cameras captured it. Harrison sat across from him. The lights made his face glow. He looked like a savior. Marcus, I want to start by saying how moved I was by your message, Harrison said. His voice carried to every corner of the room. That's what real people go through every day, and most of us never see it. Marcus said nothing. Harrison reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. He placed it on the table between them with ceremony, making sure the cameras had the angle. $5,000, Harrison said. Cash. For you. For your daughter. No strings attached. The audience murmured. Approving sounds. Someone whispered amazing. Marcus looked at the envelope. At Harrison's face. At the cameras. "Thank you," Marcus said. Harrison leaned forward, elbows on the table, hands clasped. "Tell me about your situation. How did you get here?" Marcus felt the question land like a weight. "I work overnight at a grocery store," Marcus said. "I have a daughter. Formula costs went up. But you're 36 years old. Forgive me for asking, but why are you still working minimum wage at your age? What choices led you here?" The room went quiet. The question hung in the air, polite on the surface, invasive underneath. Marcus's jaw tightened. He chose his words carefully. "I work the job I have. I take care of my daughter. That's what matters." Harrison nodded like he understood. Like this was wisdom he was absorbing for the first time. "I respect that. I do. But Marcus, I'm offering you something bigger than $5,000. I'm offering you a future." Harrison gestured to someone off camera. A screen lit up behind them. "We're launching an initiative called Lift Up. It's an app designed specifically for people in your situation, low-income families who need help optimizing their path out of poverty." The screen showed a polished interface. Friendly. "You would be employee number 1, Harrison continued. "The face of this program. The proof that it works. Paid position. Benefits. A chance to help millions of other fathers just like you." Marcus stared at the screen. Something about it felt wrong. "Can I see the terms?" Marcus asked. Harrison blinked. "Of course. Diane, can you send Marcus the overview?" Marcus pulled out his phone. A document appeared. He opened it while Harrison waited, smile still in place, cameras still rolling. Location services mandatory. Purchase monitoring. Communication logs analyzed. Employment verification. Daily check-ins. Algorithmic assessment of worthiness for micro-grants based on behavior patterns. Marcus kept reading. The more he saw, the clearer it became. This wasn't help. This was surveillance. Data extraction disguised as charity. Every dollar they gave would cost users their privacy, their dignity, their autonomy. The algorithm would keep them perpetually almost. Marcus looked up from his phone, met Harrison's eyes. "No, thank you," Marcus said. Harrison's smile faltered. "Just for a second. I'm sorry. I appreciate the offer, but no." "Marcus, this is a chance to change your life, to be part of something that helps people." "It doesn't help people," Marcus said quietly. "It tracks them, takes their information, keeps them waiting." Harrison's face hardened. The performance cracked. "You texted me begging for money," Harrison said. His voice had changed. Sharper now. "I'm offering you dignity. I'm grateful for the $5,000. I'll donate it to a local food bank. But I can't be part of this. This is why people like you stay poor." Harrison was standing now too. "You don't recognize opportunity. You don't know how to say yes when someone's trying to lift you up." Marcus looked at him. Really looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the performance. The emptiness behind the empathy. The need for validation disguised as generosity. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Vance," Marcus said. He picked up the envelope, walked toward the door. Behind him, Harrison. Marcus kept walking. Past the cameras. Past the curated audience. Past Diane, whose smile had finally disappeared. He stepped outside. The cold air hit his face. His hands were shaking. Inside, through the window, he could see Harrison talking to his team, gesturing at the cameras. The footage existed. The confrontation was recorded. Marcus's refusal captured from every angle. He started walking. Didn't know where he was going. Just needed to move. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. That took guts. Someone's gonna leak that footage. You know that, right? Marcus kept walking. The city moved around him. cars, people. Normal life continuing, while his own tilted further off axis. By the time he got home, the video was already online. 3 days after the coffee shop, Marcus thought maybe it would blow over. The leaked footage had gone viral, yes. Thousands of comments debating whether he was principled or ungrateful. But the internet moved fast. Something else would grab attention soon. He just had to keep his head down, wait it out, protect Zoe. Harrison Vance stood in his campaign headquarters, watching the leaked video on a loop. His publicist Diane sat across from him, tablet in hand, face carefully neutral. "We need to control this," Harrison said. "The narrative's split," Diane said. "Half the internet thinks he's a hero. The other half thinks he's an idiot who turned down help. I don't care what the internet thinks. I care that he made me look like a fool on my own cameras." Diane tapped her screen. "Then we pivot. We launch Lift Up without him. Use his text message as the man who asked for help rejected it," Diane continued. "But millions of others won't. We position him as the cautionary tale, the person too proud to accept opportunity. We become the heroes who help everyone else he left behind." Harrison smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Do it." By the next morning, billboards were going up across Detroit. They were massive. 40 feet wide. Marcus's text message blown up to fill the space. The words enormous and impossible to miss. "Derek, can you spot?" Below the text, a single line in bold letters. "The man who asked me for help rejected it. But millions won't. Download Lift Up today." Marcus saw the first one while driving Zoe to preschool. It was on Woodward Avenue, impossible to miss. He slowed the car without meaning to, staring up at his own desperation displayed like a billboard for fast food. His private plea, his daughter's formula needs, 40 feet tall for everyone to see. Zoe looked up from the back seat. "Daddy, why is your picture on the big signs?" Marcus's hands tightened. That's not a picture, baby," Marcus managed. "It's just words." "But it says your name. I can see it." Marcus pulled into the preschool parking lot. His hands were shaking. He helped Zoe out of the car, walked her to the door, kissed her forehead. "Have a good day, okay?" "Okay. But why?" "I love you. I'll pick you up at 3. He waited until she was inside. Then he sat in his car and stared at nothing. That night, the news covered Lift Up's official launch. Marcus sat on his couch, Zoe on. The anchor smiled warmly as she introduced the segment. Billionaire Harrison Vance launched his new poverty assistance app today, promising to help millions of struggling Americans get back on their feet. The screen cut to Harrison standing at a podium, a giant screen behind him displaying the Lift Up interface. He wore a compassionate expression that looked rehearsed. 3 days ago, a man texted me by mistake asking for help, Harrison said. He held up a printout of Marcus's text, the same image from the billboards. I tried to help him. I offered him opportunity. But his rejection taught me something important. Not everyone is ready to accept help. But that doesn't mean we stop trying. The camera panned to the audience. Applause. So today, I'm launching Lift Up for the millions of people who will say yes, who want a chance, who recognize opportunity when it's offered. More applause. Harrison smiled. Marcus watched the screen. His jaw ached from clenching. The news segment cut to footage of people downloading the app. Interviews with early users, grateful and hopeful. An unemployed factory worker saying Harrison Vance understood people like him. The anchor reappeared. The app has already been downloaded over 50,000 times in its first 6 hours. Marcus turned off the television. 50,000 people. 50,000 people, 50,000 people handing over their data, their privacy, their dignity, because they needed help, and this was the only hand reaching down. And Harrison was using Marcus's text, his moment of desperation, as proof that he was the generous one. The apartment was silent except for Zoe's breathing from her room. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Marcus, is that you?" He stared at the message. Didn't recognize the number. Another buzz. The same number. "It's David Chen. We worked together at the Institute. I saw the video. I saw your eyes. I know it's you." Marcus's breath caught. David Chen. They'd worked together for 3 years on the privacy framework. David had been there the day Marcus testified before Congress, had been at Elena's funeral, had tried to reach out after. The response came fast. "Marcus, I've known you for 10 years. I know how you stand when you're controlling your anger. I know how you breathe when you're holding something back. That was you in that coffee shop. And I just watched Harrison Vance launch an app using your text message that violates every principle we spent years building. Tell me you see it." Marcus closed his eyes. Another buzz. "I'm sending you the lift-up terms of service. Read it. Then tell me I'm wrong." A document appeared. Marcus opened it. He read for 5 minutes, then 10. This was systematic extraction designed to look like charity. Every requirement, every permission, every data point harvested and analyzed. Location tracking to verify employment. Purchase monitoring to judge spending habits. Communication logs to assess social networks. All fed into an algorithm that determined who was worthy of help. And the help itself was designed to keep people dependent. Micro-grants of $20, $30. Just enough to keep them using the app, never enough to actually lift them up. The algorithm kept users perpetually almost qualified for larger assistance, always one more week of data away, one more tracked purchase from eligibility. It was exploitation dressed up as empathy. Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years, not just anger, recognition. He'd seen systems like this before. Had fought them before, with Elena. His phone buzzed again. "Do you see it now?" Marcus stared at the screen, at the terms David had sent, at the architecture of control Harrison had built and wrapped in the. "Then you know what you have to do." Marcus set the phone down, stood up, walked to the closet in the hallway where he kept things he didn't look at anymore, boxes he'd packed 8 years ago and never opened. He found the one he needed, pulled it down, opened it. Inside was a laptop, old but functional. He'd bought it with his first paycheck from the Institute, had written the first draft of the privacy framework on this machine, had carried it to congressional hearings, had closed it the day Elena died, and never opened it again. Marcus lifted it out, set it on the kitchen table, stared at it, then his phone buzzed one more time. "Marcus, is that you?" The laptop sat on Marcus's kitchen table like an accusation. He'd stared at it for 20 minutes without opening it. The apartment was dark except for the glow from the streetlight outside. Zoe was asleep. The city was quiet. His phone buzzed. Another message from David Chen. "I'm sending the full data architecture. Look at the permission structure. Look at what they're actually collecting versus what they're giving back." A document appeared. Marcus downloaded it, opened it on his phone, started reading. Within 2 the Lift Up app wasn't just tracking financial data. It was harvesting everything. Bank transactions, yes, but also GPS location updated every 15 minutes. Purchase history down to the item level. Communication metadata. Who users texted, when, how often. Employment verification through constant check-ins. Social network mapping through contact list access. And in return, the app offered micro-grants, $20 here, $30 there, small enough to keep users desperate, large enough to make them stay. But the grants weren't automatic. The app analyzed user data and assigned a worthiness score. based on spending patterns, employment stability, social connections. Users who scored high enough qualified for grants. Users who didn't had to provide more data, more time, more compliance. The algorithm was designed to keep people perpetually almost qualified. Always one more week of tracking away. One more verified purchase from eligibility. Marcus kept reading. The privacy policy buried the real terms under friendly language about optimization and personalized assistance. The data retention, the third-party sharing clause was vague enough to mean anything. The algorithm's decision-making process was completely opaque. This wasn't charity. This was a machine designed to extract value from desperation. Marcus's phone buzzed again. A different number this time. Marcus? It's Sarah Kim, from the Institute. I saw the video. I saw the video. I saw you turn down Vance. Then I saw what he built anyway. Tell me you see it. Tell me you see what he's doing. Marcus texted back slowly. I see it. Sarah's response came fast. Then you know this. He's using your text message to build a surveillance system targeting poor people. You can't let this stand. Marcus closed his eyes. Elena's face appeared in his mind. Sharp, determined, always 3 steps ahead. She'd spent her career exposing systems exactly like this. Companies that claimed to help while they harvested. Technologies that promised empowerment while they controlled. She died because she got too close to the truth. Because someone wanted her silenced. Because Marcus's own work, his frameworks, and now Harrison Vance was using Marcus's desperation, his daughter's needs, to do it again. Another buzz. David Chen. I'm sending you the algorithm's logic tree. Look at the grant qualification triggers. He's engineered it to maximize data extraction while minimizing actual payout. It's predatory by design. Marcus set his phone down, walked to the closet, pulled down the box he'd been avoiding for 8 years. The laptop was still inside. Battery dead. Covered in a thin layer of dust. The desktop background was a photo of Elena. She was laughing at something off camera. Her hair caught mid-movement, eyes bright. Marcus had taken it at a conference in 2015, a week before everything fell apart. He stared at the photo for a long time. Then he opened a browser, navigated to the developer forum where he used to post, created an anonymous account, pulled up a blank text editor. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. He told himself he was just looking, just reading, just understanding what Harrison had built. He wasn't going to do anything with it. But then, not yet. Just notes. Analysis. Breaking down lift-up structure the way he used to break down privacy violations for congressional testimony, clinical, precise. Identifying every exploitative design choice, every dark pattern, every way the app was engineered to extract rather than help. The writing came easier than he expected. His hands remembered the rhythm. The frameworks he'd developed a decade ago still worked. The analytical tools still sharp. 2 hours passed, then 3. Marcus didn't know. He was deep in the architecture now, seeing the connections, understanding how Harrison had disguised surveillance as charity, how the algorithm was designed to keep users trapped in a cycle of compliance and hope. It was brilliant, and it was cruel. The sound of small feet on the hallway floor pulled Marcus back to the present. He looked up. Zoe stood in the doorway, clutching her stuffed elephant. Her hair was messy from sleep. Her eyes were heavy. "Daddy?" she whispered. "Hey, baby, what are you doing up?" "I heard typing. Are you working?" "At Elena's photo in the corner." "Just thinking," he said. Zoe walked over, climbed into his lap without asking. She was warm and small and real. She leaned against his chest, elephant tucked under her chin. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Marcus looked at the laptop screen, at the analysis he'd written. at the evidence of what Harrison had built using Marcus's text as bait. "About fixing something that's broken," he said quietly. Zoe was silent for a moment. Then she asked a question so simple it cut through every justification Marcus had built to protect himself. "Daddy, if something's wrong, do you fix it?" Marcus closed his eyes. He thought of Elena, of the work she'd died doing, of every person downloading Lift Up right now because they needed formula money, or rent money, or just enough to survive. Of Harrison Vance holding up Marcus's text like a trophy while he built a machine to exploit everyone who shared Marcus's desperation. He thought of Zoe, 4 years old, watching her father every day, learning from him how to respond when the world was cruel, learning whether you hide from what's wrong or you fix it. Marcus opened his eyes. "Yeah, baby," he said quietly. "You fix it." Zoe nodded against his chest. "Okay." She stayed in his lap for another few minutes, then slid down, elephant dragging behind her. "I'm going back to bed. I love you." "Love you too, Daddy." She padded back down the hallway. Her door clicked shut. Marcus turned back to the laptop, deleted his notes, started fresh. This time he wasn't analyzing for himself. He was writing for everyone who would download Lift Up, for everyone who would trust Harrison's promise of help, for everyone who didn't have the expertise to see what. He wrote in clear, simple language, no jargon, no technical complexity, just the truth about what Lift Up did, what it took, what it gave back. He explained how the algorithm worked, how the grants were designed to keep people trapped, how the surveillance was packaged as care. He wrote for 2 hours, revised for another 30 minutes, read it through twice. Then he opened the developer forum, posted it anonymously, hit publish. The timestamp read 4:17 a.m. Marcus closed the laptop, sat in the dark kitchen, waited for the sun to rise. Downloading Lift Up, surrendering everything because they needed help, and Harrison Vance was the only hand reaching down. But now there was something else out there too. A voice in the dark, telling the truth. It wasn't enough, not yet, but it was a start. Marcus's post went live at 4:17 in the morning. By noon it had been shared 3,000 times. He sat at his kitchen table watching the numbers climb on his phone. Comments poured in. Questions. Gratitude. People saying they'd been about to download Lift Up, but now they understood. No technical complexity, just the truth written in plain language anyone could understand. He'd explained what Lift Up collected, what it promised in return, why the algorithm was designed to keep people waiting, how the surveillance was packaged as help. By evening, tech journalists had picked it up. Marcus refreshed the page. A blogger from a major tech site had written a full breakdown, citing his post as the source. Then another journalist. Then a privacy advocacy group. His phone buzzed. A message from Sarah Kim. "This is the kind of analysis you used to do. Did you write this?" Marcus didn't respond. The next morning, Harrison Vance's PR team released a statement. Recent claims about Lift Up are conspiracy theories from anti-tech activists who don't understand how poverty assistance works. Our app has already helped thousands of families. We won't let misinformation stop us from doing good. Marcus read the statement twice. Then he opened his laptop and wrote a second post. This one was more specific. He showed exactly how the grant qualification algorithm worked. How it calculated worthiness scores based on spending patterns. How users who bought cheaper groceries scored higher than users who bought name brands. How employment gaps lowered scores, even if those gaps were medical leave or childcare. How the algorithm kept people perpetually almost qualified, always one more week of tracking away from real assistance. He included screenshots, code snippets, the internal logic made visible. He hit publish at 3 p.m. Within 2 hours, the post had 10,000 shares. Privacy advocate One reporter reached out to former LiftUp beta users and confirmed everything Marcus had written. The users had been tracked for weeks, had received micro-grants of $20, $30, had stayed on the app hoping for more, surrendering months of data for pocket change. The story grew. 3 days later, Harrison Vance appeared on CNBC. Marcus watched from his CNBC. Marcus watched from his couch. Zoe sat beside him, coloring in a book, elephant tucked under her arm. The anchor asked Harrison about the criticism, about the claims that LiftUp was a... The camera loved him. He looked calm, reasonable, compassionate. "Look, I understand skepticism," Harrison said. "I do. But the people criticizing LiftUp have never had to choose between rent and food. They've never texted a stranger at 2 in the morning begging for $10. He reached off camera, brought out a printout. Marcus recognized it immediately. His text, the one he'd sent by mistake, blown up to poster size. "This man asked me for help," Harrison said, holding the printout up for the camera. "I offered him opportunity, and now people like him are trying to stop me from helping the millions who will say yes. The people who actually want to improve their lives." Harrison set the printout down, looked directly into the camera. "I built LiftUp for people who recognize opportunity when it's offered, not for people too proud to accept it." The interview ended. The anchor thanked him. The screen cut to commercial. Marcus sat very still. Zoe looked up from her coloring book. "Daddy, that's your words again." "Yeah, baby. Why does he keep showing them?" Marcus didn't. He was staring at the black screen, seeing Harrison's face, hearing his voice. "This man asked me for help. The people who actually want to improve their lives." Something inside Marcus snapped. He'd stayed anonymous. He'd written the truth quietly, hoping it would be enough. But Harrison was using Marcus's desperation as a shield, weaponizing his text message to defend exploitation, turning Marcus's love for his daughter into proof that poor people were the problem, not the system designed to trap them. Marcus opened his laptop, started writing a third post. This time, he used the analytical frameworks he'd developed a decade ago, the methodologies that had shaped data privacy legislation, the specific terminology and structural analysis that had defined his congressional testimony. He wrote about algorithmic accountability, about designed dependency, about surveillance capitalism disguised as charity. He showed how LiftUp violated every principle of ethical data collection, how it exploited behavioral psychology to maximize extraction while minimizing real assistance. The writing was precise, but still clear enough for anyone to follow. He finished at midnight. Read it through twice. Hit publish. Then he closed the laptop and sat in the dark kitchen, listening to Zoe breathe from her bedroom, wondering if he'd just made a terrible mistake. The post went viral faster than the others. Within 6 hours, it had 50,000 shares. Within 12, privacy advocates were calling it the most comprehensive takedown of exploitative tech they'd seen in years. Within 18, someone on Reddit started a thread. The title read, "Is this market?" People comparing his anonymous post to his old congressional testimony, analyzing his writing style, noting the specific frameworks he used, the exact terminology, the analytical approach that was distinctly his. One comment linked to a video of Marcus testifying before Congress in 2015. Young, focused, explaining algorithmic accountability with the same precision he'd used in the post. Another comment, "This is him. It has to be. Nobody else writes like this." The thread climbed to the front page. Marcus's phone started. Privacy advocates asking if it was really him. Former colleagues who'd already guessed. Then, a new message. This one from an email address he didn't know. "Mr. Webb, my name is Jordan Chen. I host a tech ethics podcast called The Accountability Project. We've been following the lift-up situation closely. Your posts have been extraordinary. We'd love to have you on the show to discuss what you've uncovered. You can remain anonymous if you prefer, but the public deserves to hear this analysis directly. Marcus stared at the message. Anonymous if you prefer. If he appeared on the podcast, even without revealing his identity, someone would connect the dots, his voice, his analysis, the way he explained things. There would be no going back. He'd been invisible for 8 years. Safe. Hidden. Protected from the world that had taken Elena. The podcast invitation sat unanswered on his screen. Zoe's door creaked open. She padded down the hallway, elephant dragging behind her. "Can't sleep?" Marcus asked. "Had a bad dream." Marcus picked her up, held her close. She was warm and... Marcus thought of Harrison holding up his text, using Zoe's formula needs as a prop, claiming to help while he built a machine to exploit. It was just a dream, baby. But what if the voice comes back? Then we deal with it. Zoe pulled back, looked at her father's face. How? Marcus thought of Elena, of every person downloading Lift Up right now, of the choice in front of him. By telling the truth, he said quietly. Zoe nodded, climbed down, walked back to her room. Marcus sat in the dark kitchen for another hour. But I need you to promise something. When the time is right, you'll ask me directly who I am, and I'll tell you. He hit send before he could change his mind. The podcast recorded at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Marcus sat in his kitchen, laptop open, headphones on. Zoe was in her room, door cracked, supposedly reading before bed, but probably listening. The host's face filled the screen. Jordan Chen. Young, sharp, earnest. "Thanks for joining us," Jordan said. "Your posts about Lift Up have been getting a lot of attention. But you've stayed anonymous. Why now?" "Because people need to know what they're agreeing to when they download that app." "Walk us through it. What exactly is Lift Up doing?" Marcus explained carefully. "The permission structure. The data collection that went far beyond what was disclosed. The algorithm designed to keep users trapped in a cycle of compliance and hope." He spoke the way he used to speak in congressional hearings. Clear, precise, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Jordan listened, taking notes. "You've used some very specific terminology in your posts. These aren't casual observations." "No. You're not just someone who read the terms of service, are you?" Marcus hesitated. From Zoe's room, he heard the creak of her bed. She was awake, listening. "I've worked in data privacy for a long time," Marcus said. "How long?" "Long enough to recognize exploitation when I see it." Jordan leaned forward on the screen. "Your third post used frameworks that are very specific, the same frameworks that shaped federal privacy legislation in 2015 and... You're not just an analyst," Jordan said. "Who are you?" The apartment was silent except for the hum of the laptop fan. Marcus thought of Elena, of the work she'd died doing, of every person who downloaded Lift Up because Harrison had turned Marcus's desperation into a marketing tool. He thought of Zoe in the next room, listening to her father make a choice that would change everything. "My name is Marcus Webb," he said quietly. Jordan went very still. "I wrote the frameworks that govern data privacy policy in this country." The silence stretched. 5 seconds. 10. "You're..." Jordan's voice cracked slightly. "You're the Marcus Webb? You testified before Congress. You architected the entire..." "Yes." "You disappeared 8 years ago, after your wife?" "Yes." Another pause. Jordan was staring at him through the screen, trying to process what he'd just heard. "And you're the same Marcus Webb who Harrison Vance posted about 2 weeks ago?" The man who texted him asking for formula money? Yes. He used your text message to launch LiftUp. Did he know who you were? No. Jordan sat back, ran his hand through his hair. I need a moment. This is extraordinary. Marcus waited. His hands were steady on the table, but his breathing had changed. Shallow, controlled. Marcus, do you understand what this means? Jordan asked. Harrison Vance built an app that violates the privacy frameworks you created. He used your personal desperation to market it. And he had no idea he was targeting the one person who could dismantle everything he's built. I understand. After your wife Elena, after what happened to her, you walked away from all of it. Why? Marcus closed his eyes, opened them. Because I built the systems that were supposed to protect her, and they failed, and she died because of it. That wasn't your fault. It was my work, my frameworks. Someone weaponized them, used them to target her. So I left. And now you're back. Now I'm back. Jordan leaned toward the camera. What do you want people to know about LiftUp? That it's not help. It's surveillance disguised as every permission they grant, every purchase they track, every location they share. He's not using it to lift them up. He's using it to build a profile he can monetize. And you can prove this? Yes. How? Because I wrote the laws he's violating. I know exactly what he's doing and why it's illegal. The interview continued for another 20 minutes. Marcus answered every question with the same quiet precision. No wasted words, no emotion bleeding through. Just facts. Evidence. The truth delivered, told him the episode would go live tomorrow morning, said it would change everything. Marcus closed the laptop, sat in the dark kitchen. Zoe's door opened. She padded down the hallway, elephant dragging behind her. I heard you talking, she whispered. I know, baby. Are you in trouble? Marcus picked her up, held her close. I don't know yet. But you told the truth. Yes. That's good, right? Marcus thought about what would happen when the episode dropped. The attention, the scrutiny, the way his life and Zoe's life would become public again. Yeah, baby. That's good. Kissed her forehead, turned off her light. Then he sat on the couch and waited for morning. The episode went live at 6 a.m. By 7, it had 10,000 downloads. By 8, 50,000. By 9, major news outlets were running the story. The man Harrison Vance humiliated on camera is Marcus Webb, the architect of modern data privacy law. The grocery store worker is a legend. The beggar is the expert. By 10, the internet had detonated. 300 miles away, in a high-rise office in downtown, his assistant stood in the doorway. His legal team was on speakerphone. Everyone was talking at once. Harrison held up his hand. They went quiet. Play it again, he said. The part where he says his name. His assistant restarted the audio. Marcus's voice filled the office. Quiet, steady, undeniable. My name is Marcus Webb. I wrote the frameworks that govern data privacy policy in this country. Harrison's hands gripped the edge of his desk. The man whose text message he'd screenshotted, that man was Marcus Webb. The same Marcus Webb who'd testified before Congress, who'd written the laws that governed every data privacy regulation in the country, who'd disappeared 8 years ago and everyone assumed was gone forever. Harrison had built LiftUp on Marcus's text message, used his face on billboards, called him ungrateful. And Marcus had spent the last 2 weeks systematically dismantling every lie Harrison had told about the app. Sir? His legal counsel's voice came through the speaker. We need to respond, now. What? A public debate, national television. I want to face him directly. Sir, that's not advisable. His expertise. I don't care. Get me the debate. But do it. Harrison ended the call, sat in his office alone, stared at his phone where Marcus's text message was still saved as a screenshot. Derek, can you spot me 10 till Friday? Formula cost went up. I'm good for it. The words that had started everything. The desperation Harrison had thought he could exploit. The vulnerability. And Harrison had 24 hours to figure out how to survive what came next. The television studio was cold. Bright lights washed everything white. Marcus sat across from Harrison Vance with a table between them and cameras positioned at angles designed to catch every expression. The moderator, a woman named Sarah Chen, sat between them. Professional, neutral, not named, not neutral. She'd moderated presidential debates. Marcus wore the same borrowed jacket from the coffee shop. He'd brought a folder. Inside were printed copies of LiftUp's code architecture, the FTC complaints he'd filed 3 days ago, and screenshots of the data harvesting mechanisms built into the app. Harrison wore a custom suit, not navy blue, perfectly tailored. He looked calm, prepared, media-trained. His posture suggested confidence, bordering on certainty. The studio audience sat in darkness bordering on certainty. The studio audience sat in darkness beyond the lights. Sarah looked into the camera. Tonight we're joined by Harrison Vance, founder of Vance Analytics and creator of the LiftUp Assistance app, and Marcus Webb, former architect of federal data privacy legislation. They're here to discuss claims that LiftUp violates the very frameworks Mr. Webb created. Mr. Vance, let's start with you. Harrison smiled. Not warm, calculated. Thank you, Sarah. I want to be clear about something. LiftUp has helped thousands of families in just 2 weeks. Real people, real assistance. Mr. Ear. Webb has spent that time trying to undermine an app he's never used, targeting people he's never met, making claims he can't substantiate. Sarah turned to Marcus. Your response. Marcus opened his folder, slid a document across the table. This is LiftUp's permission structure, Marcus said quietly. Users grant access to financial accounts, location data updated every 15 minutes, purchase histories, communication metadata, and employment verification. In return, the app offers micro-grants averaging $23. The algorithm is designed to keep users perpetually almost qualified for larger grants, requiring more data, more time, more compliance. Harrison leaned forward. That's an oversimplification of a complex system designed to... It's surveillance, Marcus said, packaged as help. Sarah looked at Harrison. Can you address the specific claims about data collection? Our users consent to everything. It's all disclosed in our terms of service. Marcus slid another document across. Page 47 of your terms. Buried up, you share it with third parties defined only as business partners. You use it to build behavioral profiles that you then monetize. That's taken out of context. It's your exact language, the moderator cut in. Mr. Vance, Mr. Webb has filed formal complaints with the FTC. He's provided documentation showing that LiftUp's data practices violate Section 5 of the FTC Act and multiple provisions of his 2015 privacy framework. How do you respond? Harrison's jaw tightened slightly. The first crack in the facade. His regulations are outdated. They don't account for modern assistance platforms. The principles haven't changed, Marcus said. You can't exploit desperation for profit. You can't surveil people under the guise of helping them. You can't build dependency by design. I'm not exploiting anyone. I'm offering opportunity. Marcus looked directly at Harrison. His voice stayed quiet, but something in it had changed. Deeper. Steadier. You screenshot my private text message and posted it to 4 million people. You turned my daughter's form. Then you built an app designed to do the same thing to millions of other desperate parents. You call it opportunity. I call it what it is. Sarah leaned in. Mr. Webb, what do you call it? Cruelty with a press release. The studio went completely silent. Harrison's composure cracked further. You're bitter. You disappeared for 8 years because you couldn't handle the industry. Now you're trying to tear down people who actually stayed and built things. I stayed away because my wife was killed by the systems I helped create, Marcus said. His voice didn't rise. I left because I thought the only way to protect people was to stop building. I was wrong. He opened the folder again, pulled out the final document. This is the algorithmic logic for LiftUp's grant qualification system. I've broken down exactly how it works. Users who spend money on groceries score higher than users who eat out. Users who work consistent hours score higher than users with variable schedules. Single parents score lower than married couples. The app judges worthiness based on behavior patterns, then dangles assistance. That's not. It's in your code. I can show you the exact lines. Sarah turned to the camera. We have graphics prepared based on Mr. Webb's documentation. The screen behind them lit up. Code. Architecture. The grant algorithm displayed in simple terms anyone could understand. Marcus walked through it step by step, showed how LiftUp tracked everything, explained how the algorithm calculated scores, demonstrated how users were kept dependent. Harrison tried to interrupt twice. Marcus kept talking. Calm. Vance, do you stand by your decision to screenshot a desperate father's text and turn it into a marketing campaign? Harrison paused. Recovered. I turned his desperation into opportunity. He refused it. That's on him. Marcus met his eyes. You screenshotted my text and put it on a billboard. You used my daughter's formula money as a marketing campaign. You built an app designed to exploit 1 million other fathers just like me. That's not charity, Mr. Vance. That's cruelty with a press release. Nobody moved. Sarah let the silence sit for 5 seconds. Then 10. Then she turned to the camera. We're going to take a brief break. When we return, we'll open it up for questions. The commercial break lasted 3 minutes. Harrison sat rigid. Marcus stayed perfectly still. When they came back, Sarah asked 3 more questions. Harrison gave prepared answers that sounded hollow. Marcus responded with facts, documentation, evidence, documents, total. When it ended, Sarah thanked them both. Marcus stood, walked off the set without looking back. He heard Harrison behind him, talking to his team, voice tight with controlled fury. Marcus left through the back exit, got in his car, drove home through Detroit streets that felt surreal, disconnected, like he was watching his own life from a distance. His phone started buzzing before he reached the highway. Text messages. Hundreds former colleagues, privacy advocates. Journalists, strangers thanking him, strangers cursing him, offers of support. Threats of lawsuits. He silenced the phone, kept driving. 20 minutes left. Marcus waved back. Inside, Zoe was asleep on the couch. Her elephant had fallen on the floor. Marcus picked it up, tucked it next to her. He sat in the kitchen, opened his laptop. The debate was already online. 300,000 views, 600,000, 1 million. The comments section was chaos. Half the internet was celebrating. The other half was calling Marcus a fraud, a has-been, a saboteur. His phone buzzed again. An email from Harrison's lawyers, subject line, cease and desist. Marcus closed the laptop. At his daughter, who'd asked him if he fixed things when they were wrong. He'd fixed what he could. The rest would come. Outside his window, somewhere in the city, his text message was still on a billboard. But tomorrow the FTC would open their formal investigation. News outlets would run the story. People would start asking questions Harrison couldn't answer with a smile and a talking point. Marcus's phone kept buzzing. The clip was going viral. 100 million views in 48 hours. But that would come later. Right now, in his small apartment, Harrison's lawyers moved fast. 3 days after the debate, Marcus received a cease and desist letter claiming he'd violated confidentiality agreements he'd never signed. A second letter threatened defamation suits. Vance Analytics issued a press release calling Marcus unstable, claiming he had a personal vendetta, suggesting he'd collaborated with competitors to sabotage a charitable initiative. The attacks came from every angle Harrison could reach. But something unexpected happened. People fought back. A GoFundMe appeared within hours of the first legal threat. Raised $400,000 in 3 days. Former colleagues testified publicly about Marcus's character. Privacy advocates organized. Tech journalists investigated every claim Harrison made and found them empty. The FTC opened a formal investigation into LiftUp's data practices. State attorneys general followed. Within 6 weeks, Apple and Google pulled LiftUp from their app stores pending regulatory review. Harrison's board called an emergency meeting. 2 months after the debate, they announced Harrison Vance was taking a leave of absence. Marcus watched it unfold from his apartment. The same apartment where he'd sent that text. Where Zoe had asked him if he fixed things when they were wrong. He'd fixed what he could. The offers came next. Universities wanted him to teach. Think tanks wanted him to consult. Advocacy organizations wanted him to lead. Marcus read each one carefully, looking for the work that mattered most. He found it in a proposal from a coalition of nonprofits. They wanted to create a new digital rights institute focused specifically on protecting vulnerable populations from They wanted Marcus to direct it. They wanted to name it the Elena Webb Center for Ethical Technology. Marcus sat at his kitchen table, reading the proposal for the 3rd time. Zoe was coloring at the other end of the table, elephant propped against her juice cup. "What's that?" she asked, not looking up from her drawing. "A job offer." "A good one?" "Yeah, baby, a really good one." Marcus accepted. 6 months after the debate, Marcus stood in a university lecture hall preparing to give his first public talk in 8 years. The former colleagues who'd waited years to see him back. Zoe sat in the front row, legs swinging, elephant in her lap. Mrs. Chen sat beside her, having insisted on coming to watch. Marcus looked at his notes. Then he looked at Zoe. Set the notes aside. He talked for 40 minutes. About data privacy. About algorithmic accountability. About the systems designed to help that actually exploited. About the difference between surveillance and care. He talked about Elena. About the work she'd died doing. About how her death had broken him. About what happens when desperation becomes a market opportunity. The audience listened in complete silence. When he finished, the applause lasted 2 minutes. Questions followed. Smart ones. Challenging ones. Marcus answered each with the same quiet precision he'd used in the debate. Then a student in the back raised his hand. Young, earnest. Maybe 20 years old. "That text you sent," the student said. "The one that started all this. Do you regret it?" "But I don't regret what it revealed about him, about the systems we've built, about what happens when we mistake surveillance for care." He paused, chose his next words carefully. "Sometimes the worst moments show you exactly what you're supposed to fight for." Zoe smiled. "Small? Proud?" like she understood something the adults around her were still learning. After the lecture, Marcus picked her up. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "You did good, Daddy." "Thanks, baby. Can we go to the park now?" Spring had finally arrived after a long Detroit winter. Marcus parked near a playground Zoe loved, the one with the tall swings and the wooden castle. She ran straight for the swings. Marcus followed, pushing her higher and higher while she laughed and shouted for more. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. A text from a senator's office asking for his thoughts on new privacy legislation they were drafting. Important. Urgent. The kind of message that used to consume his entire life. Marcus looked at it, smiled. "Put the phone away." "Higher, Daddy. You sure?" "Yes." Marcus pushed her higher. Watched her hair fly back. Watched her grip the chains with absolute trust that her father wouldn't let anything hurt her. Above them, a plane passed. Below them, the city continued. Somewhere in that city, Harrison Vance was dealing with congressional hearings and regulatory investigations, and a board that no longer trusted him. Somewhere in that city, the Elena Webb Center was opening its doors. Somewhere in that city, on a billboard that used to display Marcus's text message, there was now a public service announcement about data privacy rights. Accessible to everyone. Sponsored by the Elena Webb Center for Ethical Technology. Marcus's phone buzzed again. He ignored it. Zoe shouted for him to push her higher. He did. The sun was warm. His daughter was laughing. The work would be there tomorrow. Right now, this was enough. This was everything. Marcus Webb had asked a billionaire for $10 by mistake. That mistake had exposed him, humiliated him, weaponized his desperation, and put his daughter's needs on display for millions. But it had also reminded him who he was, what he'd built. Desperation wasn't weakness. It was proof of love, proof of trying, proof of doing whatever it took to protect the people who mattered most. And those who exploited it for profit would eventually face those who transformed it into purpose. Marcus pushed his daughter higher. She reached for the sky. He thought of Elena. Hoped she could see this. Hoped she knew her work continued. Hoped she knew their daughter was safe and loved, and watching her father help change the world into something better. One push at a time.